You are being watched. Right now, on the Isle of Wight, the government are testing the new track and trace app, which, all being well, will be available throughout the UK later this month. What are our thoughts on this app? Is it going to be a concern for our civil liberties? Maybe some Christians might be concerned that it might be used to control the population. Today, I want to share a few thoughts on being watched. From birth, I was brought up on a farm, and for the first 30 years of life, I was on that farm. And my dad was the key farmer, obviously, until I was 21, 22, when I gradually took over the running of the farm. And so I learned almost everything I know about animal husbandry and farming from my dad. It's quite clear to me, loved his animals. He loved the cows and the sheep and the ducks and the chickens and everything that we had. And he spent a lot of time caring for them. One of the things he taught me was to every day to see every animal on the farm. In other words, we would go and watch and see how they were. He taught me how to check to see how animals were sick, all the signs that would give away a sick animal or one that was perhaps going to get unwell. He taught me how to count 150 sheep in the field, how to count 50 or 60 cattle, and so on. Not easy when they're actually moving around, but he taught me those skills. And Dad watched the sheep, watched the cattle every day. And I think when we were growing up, it wasn't until I was 7 that we actually went away for a week's holiday. And we then used to go 1 week a year. And those were the only days when Dad himself didn't check the animals and see how they were doing. This time of year, in May time, the sheep in particular, you had to check them more because they like to row. And quite often they would row and end up lying on their backs with their legs in the air. And if they got in that position, they couldn't move. They couldn't get up. And we lost one or two that way. And sometimes they would die, sometimes birds would attack them. And so it was important that we checked, that we watched the sheep more often during the springtime in the year. Also, sheep in particular are at times labour intensive. Lambing time. My dad was very keen on lambing early in the year from January onwards, so that you get lambs ready for the meat market at Easter. When Sharon and I took the farm on, we went more for lambing in March. And our 150 ewes would give birth to roughly 300 lambs in 3 weeks. You can imagine we were watching them 24/7. Watching our animals. Why did we do it? We did it because we loved them. As we get back and think about this app that they're bringing out, where in a sense there will be checks on us, as far as I understand it, the app will be worked through Bluetooth, and if you've got the app on your phone, then if anyone else with a phone comes near you, that'll be registered, and it'll be kept for 28 days on the phones. And if there's anyone with symptoms, that they are to put it into the phone. That will then alert people to self-isolate, and it's a very quick, efficient way of alerting people and hopefully minimizing the virus. And so, to my mind, the purpose of the app is to control the virus, not to control people. But as we consider this word watch, I'd like us to think even more about that as we think about God. And so I'm going to read to you one of my favorite portions from the Bible. This is Psalm 139 in the first 12 verses. O Lord, you have examined my heart, and you know everything about me. You know when I sit down or stand up. You know my every thought when far away. You chart the path ahead of me and tell me where to stop and rest. Every moment you know where I am. You know what I'm going to say, even before I say it, Lord. You both precede and follow me. You place your hand of blessing on my head. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too great for me to know. I can never escape from your spirit. I can never get away from your presence. If I got to heaven, you are there. If I go down to the place of the dead, you are there. If I ride on the wings of the morning, if I dwell by the furthest oceans, even there your hand will guide me, your strength will support me. I could ask the darkness to hide me, and the light around me to become night. But even in darkness, I cannot hide from you. To you, the night shines as bright as day. Darkness and light are both alike to you. There we see just the amazingness of God, how he knows us, so he knows everything about us, how he is caring for us. And another psalm, Psalm 121, verse 5. The Lord himself watches over you. The Lord stands beside you as your protective shade. The sun will not hurt you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord keeps you from all evil and preserves your life. The Lord keeps watch over you as you come and go, both now and forever. As I've read to you those words about a God who knows us, who is watching us, who is caring for us, you can look at them in two ways. You can think, he's watching us to find out what we're doing wrong. Or you can look at it that he is watching us because he cares, because he wants to help us, because he wants to guide us. I want you to know that as we look at the character of Jesus Christ, we understand that God isn't trying to see what we're doing wrong. He's actually trying to help us through. Jesus' life and death and resurrection was all about making a difference in our life, helping us to find our way not just through this life, but into eternity itself. I would encourage you in these awful days, and we're now 9 weeks or so into this pandemic in this country, and all these signs are that even though our lockdown has been lifted to a degree, that we are going to be struggling with the coronavirus for many months ahead. I think that means we do need some help, and I would encourage every one of you watching this today, don't look to me for help. Look to God. Look to Jesus. He's watching you. His hand is there, wanting to guide you, wanting to help you. It's time for us to reach our hand towards his hand. Like a little child reaches up for mother or father. Reach up to the God of heaven and earth, the God who knows everything, the God who will help us through. Now, I know so often people in these days ask the question, why does God allow it? Well, we maybe look at that next week when we look a little bit at Florence Nightingale, one of the early nurses. But today, I'd like us to focus on this one thing. God knows everything about you. He doesn't even know the worst side of you. And you know what? He loves you just as you are. He sent his son who gave his life on the cross that you might be set free and forgiven for all the things you're ashamed of in your life. And I want you to know today that if there are stuff that you're ashamed of, that you wish should never happen, the if onlys, take it to Jesus. Say to him, like I'm talking to you right now, Jesus, I'm sorry for all this stuff that I've done. Will you take it away? Will you forgive me? Will you release me? And will you release the people that I've hurt? I want you to know, as you talk to him like that, he will answer you. He will lift the load. He will give you hope. Do we have hope in 2020? We do. Because our God is by our side. Our God is there to guide us through, to help us through. Remember, he's watching. He's caring. Reach up to him. God bless you.